In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the alternator on your Honda Accord. This will be located on the passenger side of the motor. Let's get started. Using a 13mm wrench, we're going to loosen the nut for the negative terminal. Pull the negative terminal off of the battery, put it off to the side where it won't make contact with the terminal. Using a 10mm socket, remove the bolt for the coolant tank. Remove the bolt, remove the overflow hose, pull the coolant tank straight up and put it off to the side. Remove the connector for the fan, push on the tab, pull straight back, remove the connector. Down on the side of the fan, using a pair of pliers, we're going to squeeze this plastic clip and then pull it out through the front. Pulling the harness off of the fan. We're going to remove this connector off of the bracket. To do that, we're going to push on this tab right here. It'll push down, releasing the lock. As we push down, we're going to pull up on that connector. Pull straight up and pull that connector off of the bracket right there. Using a 10mm socket, remove the two top bolts for the fan. You can reach down behind the fan to access the 10mm bolt. We're going to loosen that bolt. In our case, we're going to have to drop the splash shield because it's so rotted. We're going to need to be able to get a better bite on it. Remove the plastic clips in the front for this bottom splash shield. In our case, we only have a zip tie, so we're going to cut our zip tie off, let our panel drop down, and now we'll have access to the bottom of the fan. There's a 10mm bolt on the bottom of the fan. We're going to loosen this, but we don't need to remove it. Remove the fan assembly. Using a 15mm wrench, we're going to get on the tensioner pulley, push back. Now we're going to pull the belt off of the alternator. We're going to try and keep the belt connected to everything else. I'm going to pull that belt back. I used a bungee cord to pull my belt back and keep it out of the way. Remove the 10mm bolt on top of the alternator for the harness bracket. Remove the bolt. Pull up the boot. Under the boot, there's going to be a 12mm nut. Remove the nut and remove the cable. We're going to have one more on the side. We're going to pull that boot back. Under there will be a connector. We're going to push on this top tab, pull straight back, and remove the connector. And pull this harness out of the way. Using a 14mm socket, we're going to remove the lower bolt for the alternator. Remove the bolt. Using a 12mm socket, remove the top bolt for the alternator. Remove the bolt. Using a flat blade screwdriver, twist the two plastic fasteners for the valve cover and remove the cover. To get the alternator out of position, using a 12mm socket, loosen the bolt for the bracket. Remove the alternator. Install the alternator down into place. Get it seated down in that fork. Get the bottom bolt started by hand. Get the top bolt started. Get the bottom bolt snug down. Moving to the top, we're going to snug down both the top bolts. Torque the bottom bolt to 33 foot-pounds. Torque the top two bolts to 16 foot-pounds. Pull the harness over. Install the bolt for the bracket. Snug the bolt down. Torque the bolt to 8 foot-pounds. Install the connector. Push until you hear a click. If you don't hear a click, give it a pull. Make sure it's locked on. Reinstall the boot over the connector. Pull the boot back for the cable. Get it installed on the post. Install the nut. Get this started by hand. Snug it down. Torque the top nut to 8.7 foot-pounds. Install the boot. I'm going to remove the bungee cord holding up my belt. Pull the belt back forward, making sure the belt is on all of our pulleys. Get your wrench on the tensioner pulley. Push back. Install the belt onto the alternator. Double check your belt fitment. Install the plastic cover. Twist the clips a quarter turn and lock them in place. Install the fan down into place. When we drop it in, we're going to drop this bracket on the stud that's down there. Install the two top bolts. Snug the bolts down. And torque them to 8 foot-pounds. Do the same thing on the bottom bolt. We're going to reach down through the top and snug this bolt down. Torque it to 8 foot-pounds. If you can't get a torque wrench on it, do the best you can. Go through and attach all of the clips for the splash shield. We're going to re-zip tie ours back up. We'll go through and put a few more on here. And on the bottom, we're going to attach the connector to the bracket. Make sure it's fully locked on. Install the plastic stay into the bracket. Install the fan connector. Push until you hear a click. If you don't, give it a pull. Make sure it's locked on. Install the coolant reservoir. Get the bolt started in front. Snug the bolt down. Install the hose on top of the reservoir. Install the negative battery cable, snug down the terminal, give it a wiggle, make sure it doesn't move, and you're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.